Just did one for the Labor Day weekend, and now here it is to end it off for the month of September. Welcome everybody to this next regular Blu-ray update, where this past weekend I had went to Target and Books A Million at my local mall because I didn't went there the last time during the Labor Day weekend. So now here are some more regular Blu-rays that I have gotten. 3 from Target and 1 from Books A Million, as I just kind of stated. Not really as big compared to the last one, as we only got 4. 2 from last year, 1 from this year, and 1 that I have been looking for so long. So, not really much, but there will be some easier discussion with this. Now, I know the one in the center, above and the top, kind of is a movie that is not really the perfect time to talk about it because with what just happened at the beginning of this month. So we'll go into that once we begin, and I think that's where we're going to start first. As many of you know, the biggest news story, I think, throughout the month of September is the passing of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, and now her son now is King Charles III of the King of England and Ireland. So, and now his son, Prince William, is now the Prince of Wales, who is now next in line for the throne. Now, when it comes to the royal family, there have been a couple of controversial things that have been going on that some people are still bringing up even during this tough times. Whether it be with all the money they have to pay for the family, with all the taxes, or specifically the racial discrimination that could be going on, especially towards Prince Harry's wife, Meghan Markle. And the biggest one, of course, being the infamous relationship with Prince Charles and now his new wife, King Charles, and now his new wife, Queen, I forgot her name. I'm sorry. I know I should know this, but I'm from the United States, so I can't really know. But the thing is, of course, it was the massive divorce between then Prince Charles and his first wife, Princess Diana. And throughout that time, the Princess Diana was kind of the key aspect of, like, there could be, like, an actual why the royal family is not what you think it is on the inside. And the prime example of this is one of the movies that, two prime examples. One of them, of course, is, I don't know much, but the show The Crown, the Netflix series, which just released a teaser. But the main perspective, if you want to go in the perspective of Princess Diana, is one of this year's movies that came out from last year, which premiered at the film festivals about a year ago, and almost released a year ago, and that is Spencer. This is from Pablo Larraín, who did the 2016 film Jackie, starring Natalie Portman, and many people know about this because not also this stars Kristen Stewart as Princess Diana, but this film actually did mark her first ever Oscar nomination of Kristen Stewart's career, and many people did state it in their reviews, her Twilight days are done. So the reason why I kind of had to address, like, why you think the royal family is kind of, like, not what you think it is on the inside instead of the outside, this movie kind of is a prime example of this, as it goes through Diana's perspective, not during her time. Instead of being a generic biopic, it's only centering around 3 days, during Christmas Day of 1991, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and Boxing Day on the 26th, which, if you're British, let me know in the comments, what is Boxing Day on the 26th of December? I'm not knowing about that holiday because we don't have a Boxing Day here in America, of course. So, I was very interested to see this movie because of Stewart's performance. And I was just, as the sunlight's kind of really coming in here, I was just blown away by this movie. This is one of my favorite movies of last year. Actually, my number 2 of last year in terms of not just of last year, but also in terms of the Oscar-nominated movies. Because as many of you know, my number 1 of last year was the James Bond film No Time to Die, which I consider that to be a masterpiece. This is almost a masterpiece if it didn't had some minor issues with some of the supporting characters, like with Timothy Spall or Sally Hawkins, or or not much on Prince Charles, but this is on the perspective of Diana during her time during Christmas. Now, we're not sure that everything is 100% accurate, but keep in mind, this is like, all biopics have a little bit of fictionalized elements into it. Like, it cannot be 100% accurate, so we know for a fact. But let me tell you something. Kristen Stewart is my favorite performance of last year, and she should have won the Oscar for Best Actress. Like, although Jessica Chastain was one of the best things about The Eyes of Tammy Faye, but unlike Spencer, Eyes of Tammy Faye was a generic biopic. Same thing with Me and the Ricardos. Parallel Mothers, just didn't really get into it. Lost Daughter, I really did not like that movie. But this was definitely one I really was amazed at. I think this is a massive step up from Lorraine's career from Jackie to this film. I'm really curious to see what other type of movies he would do like this. And as I've stated, this is not a generic biopic. This is only standard in 3 days. And that is something that has to be very creative, of something that a lot of critics have a high praise towards. Like, maybe like some people think could be with some of the other characters, or there's really not much of a story. But it's like through Stewart's performance and Lorraine's direction, as well as like the costume design, the production design, Johnny Greenwood's score, the cinematography, the editing, it's just amazing in the technical aspect as well. As I've said, Stewart is my number one performance of last year. This movie really should have been in for picture, director, maybe original screenplay, but that depends if there were, like, if I saw almost every movie of 2021, what would have been the original screenplay category that was not an Oscar-nominated movie, but it would just be in my personal lineups just for the setting of it. And many people would love to see more and more films like these that only just take in a span like this. Another great example of not being a generic biopic is the Brian Wilson biopic, Love and Mercy, which I really was I forgot to almost get that for my Amazon Prime Day haul, but hopefully I'll do that next year, or if it's somewhere in Elite Games or any used Blu-rays that are up at stores. But yeah, I found this at Target, and I just was amazed by it. So, wow, and I just can't wait to see what Lorraine does next. If he does another film like Jackie and Spencer and goes somewhere else, I'm really looking forward to see what he does. I know I'll probably sometime soon this year, I will be hopefully seeing his Chilean film No, which was nominated for an Oscar back in 2012 for the 2010 movies. I'm trying to catch up, so hopefully I'll get to see that sometime soon. This is my favorite films I've seen from him, although it's only my second time to see it from him. But I just can't wait to see what he has in mind of what unique biopic he can do that is not generic. And of course, on a Blu-ray update, you cannot go wrong without your folks from Disney, as we got one that I had mentioned that I was trying to look for during the Memorial Day weekend that I finally found, Raya and the Last Dragon, and Pixar's recent film, Lightyear. So let's start up with Raya and the Last Dragon here. So I stated in my Memorial Day Blu-ray haul that I couldn't be able to find the Blu-ray of this film. I only found the DVD of it. I did manage to get Encanto and Luca, as well as the Mitchells vs. the Machines, if we go from the animated feature nominees of last year. And this was my favorite Disney film, animated film, out of the 3 from last year. This was my number 2. The only animated feature nominee from last year that I'm still hoping to see if it gets a Blu-ray release here in America is the animated Danish documentary Flea. I know it has a Blu-ray in some portions of Europe, if I'm guessing, but I've yet to see it in American territory, so that's going to be a thing. Now, I was really amazed how epic this movie was. There are some issues I did have, with Awkwafina mainly being herself, but if you take, obviously, the dragon herself out, everything else is amazing. Kelly Marie Tran gives a fantastic performance as Raya. Isaac Wang, who plays the boy, all the people that comes together from each of the regions as one team. And I really wish the villain, although she was not straight, it was a straightforward villain, but it wasn't really that well developed. I don't remember the name, but I know which specific group it is, but it's just trying to get all the groups together at peacefulness, which this epic one does, so I'm just really blown away with it. Totally deserved the nomination. My number 2 of the animated feature lineups and my favorite Disney animated film of last year. Now we come to Lightyear. Now, Here's the interesting thing. Now, when it comes to usually any recent movies that come out, I kind of wait until after the award season, because many of you guys know I do an Oscar movie marathon after the award season, watching almost all the Oscar-nominated movies in some of the big major categories, which includes the ones nominated for Best Animated Feature. Now, I wasn't able to watch Lightyear in theaters, and here's the thing, not because of anything, no reasons or anything like that, but I just, unfortunately, didn't have probably enough time to watch it. So, and when the critic reception came out and that box office bomb, mainly the critical disappointment, it felt like that I feel like many of us are assuming that this is not going to get an end. So I did watch it when it first not on the day when it came, but days later when it came out on Disney Plus. And I actually did really liked it. I will say it is the weakest of the entire films of the Toy Story series, although this is technically more of a spin-off. But if we go by the original, all of them together, it goes this film, 3, 4, 1, and 2. So it is the weakest one, but there are some good things. Like Chris Evans does a good job as Buzz here. I will say there are some supporting characters I was kind of disappointed at. And yes, of course, there is a plot twist villain, and just like, all I would say is the Lego Movie 2 did it first. So I would just say that synopsis is a plot twist villain, and then you get the synopsis. So although I really did enjoy this, I think everyone's assuming, if you've seen my predictions for August, I was not predicting Lightyear for animated feature. I guarantee Strange World and Turning Red would most likely be, but probably not this one, unfortunately. So, unless if it does, if there's, like, more major disappointments, if the reactions of, like, My Father's Dragon or Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio doesn't do well, it might come in as, like, a 5th spot, or it could be, like, DreamWorks is the bad guys. Heck, maybe even Puss in Boots' Last Wish is kind of a disappointment, but we'll just have to wait and see. So, I have yet to watch Turning Red, but that's because it's guaranteed going to get nominated for an Oscar. I just had my original screenplay predictions in the previous video, just because I did not know where else to go. So, this is definitely, of course, many people do consider this one of the most disappointing films of the year, but I'm on the positivity of it. Not highly, but it is kind of like almost in the levels of Onward, but I kind of prefer watching Onward than this. But I do prefer watching this over, like, some of the Cars films, or, like, Brave, or The Good Dinosaur, something like that. So, yeah, so I really did enjoy this, but I am finally glad I got Raya and the Last Dragon, so 4 down, 1 more to go for the animated features of 2021. And that means we go into the big one next. Okay, technically it's not a big one, but this has been something that, when I started collecting regular Blu-rays that is not from the Criterion collection, this has been something I've been trying to look for. A movie I've been trying to look for many places. Either at Target, Walmart, or even when Best Buy was still open before it closed near the mall area. And it could be available, but it's just only on 4K formats, and not a 4K person. And I even tried to look during Amazon Prime Day, and it's just either from international ones or specifically just nothing but 4Ks. And then when I was at Books A Million, it kind of sucked for a while when I was looking at all the Blu-rays that still have. Some of those I still have yet to watch that are still on the shelves, even when I first saw them. But here is one that, when I saw this on the shelf, I knew I had to get it. Even if it's labeled as a 3D Blu-ray, who cares? I finally got a Blu-ray of Mad Max Fury Road. Oh my gosh. When I first saw this movie back in 2016 for from the Best Picture marathon I did for the Oscars after the 2016 ceremony for the 2015 film, you get the idea. I was just blown away by this, because I didn't even need to watch the original Mel Gibson trilogy to watch this, because this kind of works as a standalone sequel, and it works so well. Kind of like with me with the Star Wars sequel trilogy with The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and The Rise of Skywalker. Like, you not even need to watch the original trilogy in order to understand the first film, specifically that one, but even though I will have to watch those original trilogies sometime in the future. But this is, and probably even the original Mad Max trilogy. But this has been something I've been looking for. This was my number one of 2015, like many others. Wow, I was just blown away. It's not a masterpiece, of course, since I didn't really classify it as a masterpiece, but it is amazing. It's just that there are, like, the villain, I think, could have worked a little bit better. Now, as I said earlier, this is a 3D Blu-ray, but it does come with a regular Blu-ray as well, so I'm glad I got this. One thing it actually came was a slipcover, which I'm glad, but it does come with this lenticular feature, certified Rotten Tomato fresh, kind of like, I believe also Spencer had that one as well. Yes, it does. So Spencer also had a certified fresh on its cover. Pretty unique cover, I must say, that is not like you usually see on the poster would usually be the cover. But this is a unique one, just with the opening shot of that movie, and you know what's about to come. So I'm finally glad I got a Blu-ray of one of my favorite films of the last decade, and just amazing. Just amazing. So that will do it for this Blu-ray update. I know it wasn't as big, but there wasn't really as big things to come out. I know there are some other movies other than Lightyear that have been released on Blu-ray, but as I mentioned, I don't think this would be potentially an Oscar-nominated movie because of the critic reception. Maybe it could be, and I might regret buying this already, even though it was a good film and it was worth it to get it. So, I know there are other films like Everything Everywhere All at Once and probably Top Gun Maverick. So, even though I know that's probably not out yet on Blu-ray, unless if I'm mistaken, but I know Turning Red is, but I probably won't be getting that until, like, post-Oscar season. It depends on my thoughts on that movie, because I do a big marathon, as I said. So, thank you guys for watching, and let's see how the holidays do when we get closer to that time of the year.